What's up guys, in this video I'm going to share my thoughts on the Wheeltop EDS TX group set after about 2 months of use. As many of you know, I like to tinker with gears and mess with different cassettes and different group sets and everything like that. So in this video I'm going to go over using this system as a 1x setup and also talk about using it in some proper mountainous gravel roads as a 2x setup. So I've been using this system off and on for about 2 months now, and recently me and a couple buddies headed up to the Talladega National Forest to ride on some proper mountainous roads, gravel and pavement, and changed this setup differently from my previous video. On the previous video I was running a 52-36. I've gone with the SRAM setup, which is a 35-48. The reason why I did that is because it allowed me to use all the gears here. With the 52-36 it was too much of a spread up front and I wasn't able to utilize all the gears in the back when I was in like the large chainring. So as far as setup here, I'm running a 35-48. I'm running the 13-speed rear cassette, which is, like I said before, a 10-36 force 12-speed rear cassette with a 42-tooth extender added onto it. And obviously, as you know, with Wheeltop, you can pick any gears from 3 up to 14 speeds. So I got this set up for the 13-speed here. And so it's a 2x13 system. I'm running the Blackwater 3-notch titanium gravel bike here that's custom made. Ran with the Continental Speed tires. These are 45 millimeters. So with my wheels here, these are the Blackwater gravel burner wheels. They have an internal width of 29 millimeter, so it really balloons out these Continental Speeds to the proper 45 millimeter width. Other rims, they usually only get up to about 43 millimeter. That's kind of the norm with Continental. They never measure out to what they claim they are. Rims are 50 millimeter deep section rims, so you do get some aero benefits there, and the wheel set weighs about 1,400 grams, so it's nice and light for those climbs. If you recall in the previous video, Wheeltop has it where when you're in the small ring up front, it blocks off the 2 smallest cogs in the back. If you want to, you can actually contact Wheeltop. They will remove this block for you. But if you're in the small ring, you really shouldn't be in that 10 or 11 tooth anyway. As far as contacting Wheeltop, I have seen on some of the groups, they say if you contact them through the WhatsApp, then you'll actually contact them much quicker versus using their email. Now, during the past 2 months, I did run this system as a 1x setup when I was waiting for the chain rings to come in. So my experience with 1x, I would recommend to disconnect the front derailleur from the system if you're going to run it all the time. What happened was I was going out on a Saturday group ride. It was just a road ride, and I had a 40 tooth up front, so pretty small, especially on a fast road ride. I did have the 10 tooth here, so I was able to actually keep up with the faster group. If the speeds got really high, though, obviously you'd be spinning a lot. The issue I ran into was I charged the system the night before because I wanted to be ready for the big group ride and everything. When you do that, whenever you charge the rear derailleur, what it does is it resets the system to think that you're in the small ring up front. If you're in the small ring up front, you block off your bottom 2 cogs, like I mentioned before. So that happened to me, and I didn't realize it until I was riding down the road after I got ready and everything. Pulled the charger off, went riding down the road, and then when I was trying to get into these higher end gears here, it wouldn't go into it. So the system thought that I was in the small ring up front, even though I was just 1x. Since I was already at the ride pretty much when I discovered that, there's no way for me to make this think that this was in the big ring. You can't just hit the button and without the front derailleur being there. So essentially I was spinning quite a bit on that ride. I mean, it worked okay. I survived and got through it all. But just as a note, if you run 1x and you're going to do it for a long period of time, definitely disconnect the front derailleur. Now, if you are going to do it like I did, where you're just going to switch between 2x and 1x occasionally, just as a heads up, if you charge this, it's going to think you're in the small chainring up front. What I did was I got back home. When I got back home, the front derailleur was sitting on my workbench over here. I just hit the front shifter button and it moved over to the large ring on the desk over here, and then I could use the bottom 2 cogs. In the rear here, we're going to shift down to the 10 tooth. All right, so we're in the largest gear there. Then we're going to shift back up. And I want to stop at the 36 tooth. We'll actually go up to 42. And you can see here that it clears. Now this is pretty well maxed out, this rear derailleur, but no issues whatsoever when I was getting to that 42 tooth. I would not go any further, obviously. Shift down to about the middle of the cassette. Then I'll shift the front derailleur here. You can see it goes down easily, goes back up easily. Just go back and forth a few times just so you can see how easy that front end shifts. So once again, super impressive with that. I'm in the 10 tooth, and like I said, it blocks off the bottom 2. So if I'm in this gear right now, and I shift the front, it's going to actually shift the back first 2 gears up, and then it will shift the front derailleur. So you can see why, like in this situation, it's delayed a little bit because of that. So I'm going through, I just hit the front derailleur button now, the rear shifts up twice, and then the front derailleur moves over. Now that's only in that situation, which really, you really shouldn't be in that situation. So that's the slowest shift I would say that you will have on a front derailleur, is whenever you're in a gear like that. Once again, that's kind of an odd situation you're going to be in. Now in the mountains, I used every bit of the block in the back. We were on these roads that basically were just up or down. There was no really flat sections whatsoever. So I would be in the largest chainring up front, the smallest cog in the back on some of the descents, and still pedaling fine. And then I hit some inclines that were like 20+%, super steep, and I'd be in the 35 up front and the 42 in the back. So I used the whole cassette the whole time I was on this trip, which was perfect. Now on the first day where we rode mainly on pavement, I actually tried to keep it in the big ring up front, and I would shift to this 42 tooth, so that's a 48-42. I got up probably 90% of the climbs that way on the pavement, and the cross chain, no issues whatsoever. I mean, obviously it's a little louder than than if you're lined up perfectly, but I was really doing that to push the limits of the Wheeltop system, see if it actually would work right. No issues whatsoever. It shifted up to that 42 tooth, stayed in the 48 just fine. No rub on the front derailleur. It has an auto trim function, so as you shift up to the bigger cogs here, moves it over so your chain's not rubbing the cage. So that worked flawlessly on the first day. Now, the second day was a proper gravel ride where, probably 80% of the route was gravel. And then we had some big chunky rocks. Some of the rocks I was hitting, the rim was even hitting the rock as I was going through them. So really, really chunky stuff we were riding through. And the bike performed flawlessly. The group set performed flawlessly, which was really impressive. I was able to shift between the small chainring, big chainring, super smooth. And I really like that about the SRAM. Like when SRAM came out with this setup, and they basically made it a 13 tooth jump from the small ring to the big ring. I really kind of criticized that. I was like, oh, they're getting rid of range. But it makes it really, really smooth. You take away the stresses from the front derailleur on that situation there. Now, Wheeltop with this setup was flawless. It was shifting back and forth, no issues whatsoever. No drop chains, no rattling, no crazy rubbing of the chain. It would just hit the button, it would shift it over. Super smooth. It was really nice also to have this 42 tooth extension on the back because, traditionally you have a 36 here. So if I was doing a 35, 36, that would have been super tough on some of those 20% grade climbs where this 42 tooth really, really bailed me out a lot. Now, I will mention that some people online have mentioned the front derailleur will not clear larger chain rings like a 54 tooth. Let's say, you have an aero road bike and you want to have a really fast setup. And the issue is the front bolt here is I would say too high. So when you mount it on your frames, the front derailleur sits too low. All right, so if you have a big, huge chain ring, it won't get high enough. Now, that is, my issue. I don't have any issue with this because I have a straight tube here. I have a round clamp. I can just move the clamp up and down. So I can clear as big as I want to on this front derailleur on this setup. Now, most bikes out there have a braze-on mount, which means it's fixed in one location on that seat tube and you can't move it. So if you do want to run a large chain ring with the Wheeltop system, you're gonna have to probably use a front derailleur extender kit, and I'll put a link down in the description below for those. Also as well, I'm running the SRAM wide setup, which means the spindle is about 5 millimeter wider than a normal crankset. So that means the chain rings are sitting outboard about 2.5 millimeter. This front derailleur has zero issues with that. So if you're wanting to run GRX, which is the same thing as SRAM wide, you'll have no issues running this front derailleur with that system. Now, probably the area I was most nervous about this group set using in the mountains would be the brakes. You're flying down some of these hills 45, 50 miles per hour, and you really do not want brakes to overheat. I've had issues in the past where I've had mountain bike brakes overheat when I was descending down some of the paved mountains like in Bald Knob in Georgia, places like that. So I was really concerned about the brakes. I shouldn't say concerned, but I was a little nervous, obviously. But the brakes work flawless. Now, I paired them with the Campy E-Car or just Campy disc brakes. They are the center lock version. They're two-piece. Those rotors work perfectly for me. They didn't discolor or anything of that nature. Now, the Wheeltop caliper, I have the first generation. The second generation looks really awesome, but both generations have the finned pads that keep the pads cool or help with cooling when you're going down the mountains. I had zero brake fade, zero issues. From the top of the mountain to the bottom of the mountain, the brake performance was the same. The modulation stayed the same. The power stayed the same. And, it may not be as powerful as, say, the latest SRAM offering, which is really, really impressive. It had gobs of power, so plenty of power. I was never worried about, flying off the mountain or anything. And I'm about 180 pounds, so I'm not light, geared up 185, 190 pounds. I had, 3 water bottles on the bike full of water, had several tools, food, everything on the bike. So the bike was in a very heavy setup and the brakes worked flawlessly. Battery life has been very good for me. I usually charge my batteries once a month no matter what. That's just kind of the norm. I'm used to it with the SRAM stuff I've used in the past. And similar with this situation here, I just charge it once a month and don't have to worry about it. I never had a bad battery situation. So in my short-term review, I am giving this group set 5 stars for performance. Now, as far as the setup, if you've seen in the previous video, that's where the group set is really kind of a pain in the butt, is the setup. Once you get over that initial setup phase, the group set has worked flawlessly for me. Now, some of the issues I've seen online, some people will say like their rear derailleur dies after running over rough terrain, or their batteries are running really low for no reason, things of that nature. Then that's why I recommend buying this unit from Wheeltop. I've said it in my previous videos before, I'm saying it again. That way they cover you under warranty. Wheeltop has a 1-year warranty in North America. In the EU, it's 2-year warranty. So be sure you're buying from Wheeltop or a authorized Wheeltop dealer. Also, as a heads up, Wheeltop is running some great discounts right now with it being the Tour de France season. Be sure to jump in, grab some of those discounts, and I'll put a link down in the description below. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you've enjoyed it, be sure to like and subscribe to the channel for more videos like this, and we'll see you in the next one.